Good morning, everybody. How lovely to have you here. This is Technique Tuesday, and my name is Ali Board. Now, what's Technique Tuesday all about? Technique Tuesday is a way of me broadcasting either on YouTube or social media or across my website to bring you something that I'm thinking about. It might be materials, it might be a project that I'm currently working on. But this month, the month of September 2022, it is to bring you my challenge 30 days hath September. Now I'm celebrating 30 days for numerous reasons, one of them being the fact that it is the SAA's 30th birthday. So congratulations to everybody at the SAA on such a momentous achievement as reaching 30 years in business. You might be watching live on their Facebook page, you might be watching via some of my social streams, or you might be watching on Catch Up too. No matter how you are watching, thank you very much for taking the time and trouble to tune in. Now, I can see that there's people in the room, and I'm just going to make a few tweaks because there's some things going on in the background, and I can't quite see what's happening. I'm just going to have a click around. You're just going to have to bear with me ever so slightly because for some reason Facebook has decided that I can't see any of your comments today, so that's very frustrating, isn't it? Let's just pop over to one of the other pages just to see if I can see anything on there. If you are commenting this morning and you're watching live, please just give me a wave so that I can track down where all those comments have gone. Good morning, Hilary. Good morning, Marilyn, Mal and Elaine. I'm certainly seeing your comments on there, but for some unknown reason, I can't see the comments on my own page. Isn't that frustrating? There we go. Reloaded the page and we're all good now. So I am able to give those people that have taken the time and trouble to tune in a little bit of a shout out. So who is in the room as well? Martina, Sue, Catherine, good morning. Ali, Rosie, Anne, Linda, Chris, good morning to all of you. Alice, Julie is saying, what a week. I'm thinking that she's referring to 30 days, but she might not be. Thyra, Joy, and lots of all sorts of people in the room. Thank you very much for taking the time and trouble to tune in. I'm just going to do a bit more clicking around and very much hope that you're all there. If you are there and you're watching live on Facebook, just do me a little bit of a comment just so that I can check that everything is happening this end, and just sort of give me a virtual wave, because that would be awesome. Now, what is 30 days all about? 30 days is designed to give you a prompt every single day. Let's just show you that list of prompts, shall we? Some of them are single words, some of them are ideas for you to interpret as you see fit. Can you believe we're already on day 13? Goodness me. We're almost halfway through the month, which is bonkers, isn't it? So I'll show you the 30 days book, and lots of people have been interpreting this. It's been fantastic. So thank you to everybody who has taken the time and trouble to do that. We're obviously on day 13. Today it is Forget Me Not. We'll talk more about that in a second. But there have been lots of ways that people have been interacting. Some really personal things, and thank you ever so much to everybody who has shared those. That's been a very touching, and I hope you realise that I appreciate everything that everybody puts out into the ether. It's been happening over on Instagram as well. You've been using the @AliBoardArtist and the hashtag very beautifully indeed. So thank you for that. If I don't always comment, it's not because I haven't seen it, I promise. It's just because, as you can imagine, there's lots of information coming in, but I try really hard to go and look at whatever anybody's done. Now, what's interesting is it doesn't look like I'm the only person having issues with Facebook this morning. So if you are having issues with it, then may I suggest that you refresh your page. I'm having to do that, which is very frustrating indeed. Everything is reloading, but I am going to presume that you can all see and hear me fine. I think some are okay, and some people are, like Rosie saying, only 2 comments showing here. Yes, I think there's some glitches in the matrix, but as long as it's not me, that's all that matters, isn't it? So let's go to that overhead camera, shall we? And we will go through the 30 days book, and we'll see what we've got in store for you today. So here is, let's clear a space. Here is that 30 days sketchbook. This was very kindly gifted to me by Hannah Muller. Beautiful sketchbook it is too, and a really lovely format, the nice square version with 100% cotton paper inside. It's been an absolute joy to paint on. And let's just very quickly take you through the story so far, shall we? So day 1 was beginnings. That was me kind of getting my eye in really to the project. Day 2 was about ancestry, and you will have learned that I have a real vested interest in my family history. There's a sketch there of a locket that belonged to my second great grandmother. I did a little bit of abstract work on day 3. We looked at music. I was listening to the album Sleep by Max Richter, which is what did that. And then day 4 was architecture, where I created a pop-up version of my own house. Then we went along to a little bit of painting. We were looking at tree. And then this was last week's live broadcast. This was birthday, where we were not only celebrating the SAA's 30th birthday, but it was my mum's birthday as well. So we were looking at that, and I did that very simple little watercolour of balloons. And what else did we have? Day 7 was bubbles. This was a real challenge. I know it was a challenge for some of you too. Good morning to everybody who has just popped up. Good morning to Anne and Linda and Sandy, Judith, Gwen, and people saying that their Facebook is all fine and dandy, and some people saying that they've had to refresh it. So this was day 7. This was bubbles. I found this such a challenge. It was fun, but it was a challenge. It really, really was. And then day 8, we did a kindness rock. I can tell you that the rock actually, for those of you who tuned in on that day to the blog, the rock was actually taken when I went back to the space that I made it. So, which really was very lovely. So I hope somebody has that rock and is making a difference to their day. Then day 9, we were looking at stitch, and if you read the blog over on the Learning to Paint website, you will know that I had a huge hissy fit with my sewing machine on that day, but I quite like what I did. I like this kind of linear layered texture. Then day 10, which was the Saturday just gone, we were thinking about weddings, and the prompt was one day like this. Did a bit of a kind of classic watercolour with the flowers that I had in my bouquet when I was married. And day 11 was shell. Where did we get to? Yesterday. This, I have to say, this is one of my favourite days. Can you tell? Can you tell that this was one of my favourite days? This was philately, in tribute to my dad, who is a philatelist, but we were looking at a little bit of postal history. I was doing some collage work. All of those things were going on. It was just too much fun, this. And today we have a blank page, because today our prompt for the day is forget me not. Now, why forget me not? Forget me not because as well as things like asters and morning glory, forget me not is a flower that is associated with September in the way that these things sometimes are randomly associated with a month. But I know in talking to some of you that the forget me not actually has quite a lot of poignancy for some of you. It is one of the emblems, symbols of the either dementia or Alzheimer's charities. And I know Julie, that you are tuned in today, and you have already, because you're ahead of us, you've already posted your beautiful forget me not painting, and it had some poignancy to you too. So I chose it today. I had done flowers you know, with the lilies, but I hadn't decided that's what I was going to do when I set that particular title. So we've got another opportunity to do flowers today. So I'm going to start in the same way that I always start, with a little bit of a ritual. I'm going to label up the page, and then we're actually going to do a small printmaking project today. Now, because I'm having issues with your comments and can't see them coming up straight away, I'll do my best to keep refreshing the page. But any questions or anything that you have coming in, ask each other, because if 30 days stands for anything, it is about creating this community of people who are sharing their work. So ask each other. So this is the way that I usually start. I label up my page, and I've got a little set of stamps here and a stamp pad. This stamp pad is going to feature later on as well in today's demonstration. So let's go through the same ritual that we have been doing for the past 13 days. Now, if you're not entirely sure what it is that I'm going on about, and you're kind of thinking, oh gosh, Ali, are there 12 other demonstrations that we can see? Yes, there are. And the way that you access those is to go over to my website, www.learningtopaint.co.uk, and you find resources in the menu. And under resources, you will see it says 30 days, half September. And you can go and look at all of those blog posts. There's a little video there that I post up every single day. So I've labelled that up, day 13. Let's put the lid on this, which is usually easier said than done. Pop the lid on that. And then the other little bit of vintage stationery that I like to use in order to label up my page is my Dymo machine. If you know me well enough, you'll know that I absolutely love a bit of stationery. And now Rosie is saying, Rosie is asking me about the transparent sheet writing transfer. Rosie, that's a whole other project for a whole other day. Keep reminding me, and I'll see if I can do that in a future Technique Tuesday. She's referring to this on the philately. It's not nearly as complicated as it looked. It looks far more impressive than it actually is, Rosie. And I can see that Julie is in the room as well. And hello, Marion. She's waving after a long time. All sorts of people tuning in. So yes, my love of vintage stationery extends to my Dymo machine. So this is an embossing machine, just in case you don't know what one of these is. And I'm going to label it up. I've just got to concentrate on spelling. Easier said than done when you're broadcasting. F-O-R G. I'm gonna do this at one time, and I'm gonna spell it wrong, aren't I? Now I need to do a little bit of a space, so I won't click it quite so hard. And my E has decided it doesn't want to emboss particularly well, so let's do it a little bit harder. N O T, quite a long label, probably the longest label I've done. Forget me not. And then we'll go over to the little cutting tool. There we go. Oh, that's not too bad. Now, why is this pink? You can see that throughout the book, the majority of the other Dymo labels that I've used have been in gold. But I've been using pink ones so that when I look back at it, I will remember which ones were the live broadcasts. So last week, day 6 was a live. And obviously today is a live broadcast too. Right, here we go. Where should we put it? No, we'll put it alongside here. And I'll try and get it in straight for you. What I will do is use the end of my pencil just to burnish that down so that it doesn't pop off while I'm demonstrating. Okay, so there's my page all labelled up, but I've got to put this to one side temporarily because there is something that I want to do to create my very own stamp. So stamp as in, not as in philately, as in rubber stamp. I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way for creating your own stamp. All right, so I'm just going to pop that to one side. Where can I pop it where it's not going to fall over? And I want to introduce you to this bit of kit, which I have to turn on because I need to get it to heat up. This is a glue gun, but it might look a little bit different to glue guns that you ordinarily have. This is a rechargeable rechargeable glue gun, and it's also cordless, because if you've ever used a glue gun, you will know that that cord can get in the way if you're not careful. So this is rechargeable, and it's like a pen as well, because I like to draw with my glue gun, and so having it in pen format works really well. It has heated up. I'm probably going to have to heat that up again, but it's all good. So let's pop that to one side, and let's just get ourselves a piece of mount board. So this is a scrap of mount board, the stuff that you cut picture mounts out of, and I'm going to use just a little bit of it as a base for our stamp. So let's do that first. Where did I put my ruler? Over here, that's where I put it. It doesn't need to be particularly neat and tidy, it just needs to be a nice small piece. So let's do it 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. And then while I'm doing this, we can talk more about those people who are supporting me throughout this project. And we can talk more about the idea behind it. So my lovely supporters for this project are obviously the SAA. I'm broadcasting live on their Facebook page as we speak. And Hannah Muller, who have very kindly gifted me that beautiful sketchbook that you saw earlier, which has been just a joy to work in. And Search Press as well. My publishers have been very kind and have been telling people far and wide about 30 days. And those sponsorships are very important because it keeps content like this free and available to everybody. So huge thanks to all of them for trusting me with this project and supporting me along the way, which is awesome. And then of course the idea of 30 days is not only that you do a different project each day for 30 days, but I've tried to keep them to 30 minutes as well, which has been a challenge at times. As fast a painter as I am, it is actually quite a challenge to create something in 30 minutes. Now, some days I have gone over it a little bit, I'm not going to lie. I have kind of crept over the 30-minute boundary, and some days it's happened all very quickly indeed. So it's been really interesting. And now I know that there are some of you out there who have said to me, but Ali, I don't have 30 minutes every day. It doesn't matter. You can just be watching, or you can pick and choose your way through those prompts, or you can do every single one. You make it fit your own reasons for doing it. And it might be that you don't do it in September, that you save it all up because October is a quieter month. It doesn't matter. As long as you are being creative or engaging with it, then my job is done. So a forget-me-not. We're going to draw a forget-me-not on this piece of card. So let's start with the centre. I'm going to go relatively big for these because A, so you can see it, and B, because of the way that I'm going to create the stamp, I think is going to be easier the bigger that I do it. So I'm going to very lightly sketch my forget-me-not and hope that I can do it by eye rather than having to measure it. I think we're going to be okay. Oh, that one's a bit of a thin one. But let's go back over it. I think I went too big too early. Let's make them a little bit wider at the top. That would be better. Let's slim this one down a little bit. I don't know why I'm really being so pernickety about it, because in a minute you'll see what I'm going to do with it, and I can't be that pernickety. But let's sort of start as we mean to go on, shall we? So we're getting that flower in. We've got 5 petals on a forget-me-not. Just in case you don't know what a forget-me-not looks like. Beautiful blue, very kind of vivid, slightly pastel blue flowers with a yellow centre and kind of white lines going up in between each one. I'm going to draw those on, but the chances are I'm not going to do anything with those. I might do, I suppose. I haven't really decided. All I decide when I'm doing these projects is the sort of vague sense of how I'm going to go about it. And then I let the project dictate what it is that I'm going to do, if I'm honest. I know some of you think that I sit there and plan it all terribly methodically so that I absolutely know what I'm doing. Really don't. I'm working very intuitively, which, whilst that might seem very scary, means that you're working very creatively as well. And that's the bit that I want to get across to people. I want you to be able to have the freedom to work creatively. So I've drawn it out in pencil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the glue gun to draw back over my pencil lines. And that's going to create a raised area, which is what I'm going to use for my stamp. So you can kind of see it through. So I do need to heat my little glue gun up again. It's going to flash, and when it stops flashing, that's when it tells me that it's heated up. And so it's not going to take very long. I've tried to keep it quite hot as we've gone through. There we go. And I pushed the button down to get the glue to come out of the end. It is a little bit stringy, and it's going to be a challenge for me to do this and not get my head in shot, but let's give it a go, shall we? So I'm going to draw back over my pencil lines with the glue gun. Ooh, and I have to sort of stop it and start it so that I get a relatively fine line. So I'm kind of dragging that glue across. It's going to be a little bit hit and miss, but such is printmaking. If you've seen any of my previous 30-day Technique Tuesday, broadcasts, you'll know that I'm a big fan of printmaking. It was something that I studied when I did my degree, and it holds endless fascination for me because it's a very hands-on process. Sometimes very frustrating, often very messy, but very tactile. So if you haven't had an opportunity to get into printmaking, may I suggest that you investigate it, because it's such a delicious thing to do. Even at the most basic level, it feels very creative, very sort of tactile way of getting your hands on something. Now the glue is pretty stringy right now. I am going to go round the centre. I didn't think I was going to, but let's do it anyway. I'm going to go round the centre. It is going to be scrappy, but that's half of its charm, I think. Let's give it a little bit more around the middle. I'm trying to create that kind of yellow centre, or I will be trying to create that yellow centre around here. And then I don't think it's going to be fine enough for those lines. I'm just trying to get it into the light. Okay, that's not too shabby, Ali. It's not too bad. A few little lumps and bumps here and there. Let's put that tool to one side. Now this is the tricky bit. I want it to dry and I want it to go hard, because obviously I'm going to use it as a stamp, but I want it to be even. So I'm going to take a rubber roller to it very briefly, and I'm going to press down on it. It's kind of set enough. Why am I pressing down on it? I'm pressing down on it to try to make this part of it even. Otherwise, if you get a slight raised area, it's going to make the printing of it a little bit tricky. Let's have a look. I'm looking sort of across it to see if I've achieved it. Do you know what? I think that will be okay. Let's pull some of those little bit of extra glue gun strings, as it were. If you've ever used a glue gun, you'll know what I mean. It sort of goes all stringy and fibrous. Let's pull some of those away because they're going to interfere with the ink. Let's see. We've got one in there that really doesn't want to move. That'll be all right. And let's just feel it under my hand. Okay, it doesn't feel too bad. Feels like it's going to print okay. I'm not going to lie to you. Have got a backup in a whole kind of Blue Peter, for those of you who know what Blue Peter is, kind of moment, because I did have a little bit of a practice, but I didn't like how small that one was. This is much better, so I'm hoping that it will print okay. Now, unfortunately, I still can't see the live comments coming up in Facebook. So if you are commenting, then my apologies for not replying to them. Facebook just being a little bit tricksy this morning. Now let's get the 30 Days book back. Where are we? Philately, there we go. Forget Me Not. And what I thought I'd do is I would print a nice random pattern on here of Forget Me Nots, and then we'd go back in with a little bit of paint and give them some colour. So for this, I'm going to use two ink pads. Now, these are my favourite kind of ink pads, simply because they're nice and easy. They're much easier to use than inking up a plate, which is what I would traditionally have to do. I'd have to take my roller, I'd have to get printing ink, I'd have to ink all of that. Sometimes I like to do that. But today, because we're on the 30-minute boundary, I want to make it nice and quick. Now, why do I like these in particular as opposed to any kind of brand of print of stamping pad? I like these because they're waterproof, which means that I can paint back in over the top of them really rather successfully indeed. So I have two colours here. I have the black, what's called jet black, and I also have shadow grey. I want there to be really solid ones and slightly softer ones too. I've just got a couple more hellos to see. All of a sudden I've had some comments pop up. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Sally Ann too. Now, what's Marion saying? Marion is saying, love making my own stencils and stamps out of anything I can find in my holiday home, including underfloor liner. Yes, absolutely. You have to have a bit of lateral thinking, don't you, Marion? So I'm glad you enjoy that too. Right, let's start with this shadow grey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamp. Chances are I'm going to get this all over my fingers as well. And I'm going to rub this around on the surface and see what I get. Is that coming? It's quite difficult to see where it's shadow grey, but I'm hoping that that's on there. Let's see what happens, shall we? Let's push this down. Be really kind of brutal with it, and okay, it's not too bad. Maybe the centers aren't going to come out, maybe that was a bit too low, but oh, do you know what, we can put those in with something else. I have got a plan B for those centers, but let's do some grey ones first. Oh, this is always really tricky, isn't it, the composition. I tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to use the handle of my roller just to get a nice print. Ooh, that's better. That's much better. And let's get another one going in. Where should we put this one? Let's put this one close to the first one. But nice, simple materials. This is what we're after today. Because you could use a spoon instead of a roller. Any old bit of card would be fine. Doesn't, oh, that's a good one. Doesn't necessarily have to be a printing ink. You can use whatever you've got. And then let's go to the black, which is going to be a little harsher, I feel. But I kind of wanted some in the background and some in the foreground. Look at that, already covered in it. Let's pop one. Let's start over here, actually. Pop one down over here. Get that handle in and get that burnished on. Ooh, that's a nice one. I like that one. And let's do a few more of these. Now, normally this is the time where I'd say, oh, get your questions into me. But as I'm struggling to see your comments on Facebook today, you're just going to have to enjoy watching me get some of these forget-me-not shapes down. Let's do one down here. Let's do that. Now, there's a few kind of finger marks on the piece of paper. There's a few bits of the edge of the card, but I like all of that stuff. That's why I really enjoy printmaking, because you can never tell how it's going to turn out. It's not too predictable, and I like it for that. Let's see if we can get one in the middle there and burnish that down. Let's get that on. Ooh, that's a nice one. Got a nice little cluster of forget-me-nots going on over there. And you've probably seen an awful lot with the broadcasts that I've done, with the recordings that I've done, that I do, my composition tends to be starting over on the right-hand side and going over to the left. And I don't really know why that is. It just is a bit of an aesthetic that pleases me, really. No greater or lesser reason than that. You might decide that you prefer things on the left-hand side of the page. I have in the past turned the book the other way on. So when I did the One Day Like This Lily demonstration, I turned the book the other way. It's just the way that it goes. Also, a lot easier for you to see when it is landscapey kind of format when we're doing a live broadcast. Now, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it's an odd number. This makes me happy. I think I need to have one up there. and I think I need another one because there's 2 on that page, and I think I need another one down there. Shall I go for grey or black? I think I'll stick with the black for the time being, so we'll get 2 more in. Let's get that. Now, for some reason, why does that bit not want to print out? Let's turn it round and... there we go. Give it a different outing. Let's have that second one closer to that one. And because this ink is waterproof, I'm going to be able to paint back into it in just a second. And I'm going to paint back into it with watercolour and potentially some Posca. We'll see what happens. But this way, it's a nice immediate way of getting your forget-me-nots down on paper. Right, here goes the last one then. Which way up should we do this one? Let's put that right up at the top and burnish that down. But a nice, simple, fairly accessible way of creating your own stamp if you have a glue gun. A brilliant idea for using with children, and if you are concerned about doing this project with children and a hot glue gun, you can get cold glue guns as well where the temperature is far lower. So if this is something that you think, if you've got kids in your life and you're thinking, oh, this would be a brilliant project to do with them, then get yourself a cool glue gun, and then you won't have those concerns. And of course you can keep those stamps, you can keep them. What I might do actually is attach this in the book so that I can remember how I did it. Right, let's clear the decks. Let's move those stamp pads over to one side, and let's get my watercolour tin out. So this is the watercolour tin that I use on a daily basis. It has the majority of the colours that I use very regularly in it. I squeeze my tubes out into empty pans so that I can pick and mix my way through my colours and get them in that way. I'm going to use today a combination of cerulean, which is that lovely sky, cerulean being the Latin word for sky, and then my own brand, the ACB collection of watercolours in cobalt blue, because actually forget-me-not colour is sort of somewhere in between those two things. And I'm going to use, what brush shall I use today? Shall I use my, you'd think I would have worked this out, wouldn't you? But no, actually what I'm going to use today is I'm going to use my mop brush, which I have been getting used to. This was actually left to me by a client of mine, and I've been using it, sort of slightly paying a personal homage to her, because sadly she's no longer with us. And I thought that her family very kindly gifted me some of her art materials, and I thought I would do them justice by using them in 30 days. Let's get some colour onto here. So I'm going to use a bit of cerulean and a bit of my cobalt blue too, and we're going to very loosely paint the forget-me-nots in. I can use my kind of standard watercolour techniques because this Hahnemuhle pad book, my apologies, is a beautiful cotton watercolour paper. It goes on so nicely onto this. It's been such a joy to work in this sketchbook because I haven't got to worry about the quality of the paper that I'm working on, any of those things. I've just been able to concentrate on the painting. So I'm going to quickly knock those in so that they're nice and loose. That's, I think, what I'm after today, where I've got the print from the glue gun where it's kind of hit and miss. I don't want to start painting them in all too neatly and tidily because I don't think that would be in keeping with the kind of the look that I've managed to get. Let's use a little bit of blending out technique on some of them. We'll get a little bit of lost as well as our found going on. I'm just going to refresh my Facebook page very briefly just to see what other comments are coming in. Let's get some of those. Some other people have popped up. Marion is saying the Ranger ink pads are really good. And Anne saying that she's enjoyed looking through the book as well. You're very welcome. Good morning, Jilly, and good morning, Alan, as well. Some lovely friends have popped up in the room today. Thank you very much for taking the time to tune in. So we're getting this nice and loosely painted. I'm sort of varying the colours. I've got more cobalt in some areas and more cerulean in others. That way we're not ending up with it all looking very even. We've got some nice variegation in our forget-me-nots. This is too much fun, actually. Can you tell? I'm having way too much fun this morning. Let's get this one a little bit paler so it looks like it's further away. And then we can strengthen up some of them. Let's make this one nice and strong up here. Getting a bit of colour down. And we'll make this one somewhere in between the two. A little bit paler with some few strong touches there too. Okay, now we've got our forget-me-nots in. Let's paint a little bit of background, just a little bit. We don't want too much. And what colour shall we go for that? I don't know why I'm doing it off camera. What colour should we go for? Oh, let's not break the habit of a lifetime. Let's go for Green Appetite Genuine, that lovely Daniel Smith colour. And we can throw a little bit of this around in and amongst our forget-me-nots to suggest a background. And then we'll do a little bit of refining and finishing off, I think. I just want this to look like the forget-me-nots aren't sort of floating in space, like they've got something behind them. So we'll drop in some green. Let's get some darker areas going on. This mop brush, kind of getting the colour in nice and quickly and nice and loosely. Working back in negatively. I'm not necessarily going to put this all the way around every flower. All I want to do is kind of give a nod to a background. Because forget-me-nots often look like a carpet, don't they? A sort of carpet, either in amongst the grass or... I've got a few of them in my lawn, and I'm always terribly reluctant to... I was going to say hoover them up. I don't hoover my lawn. Mow them up, that's what I'm trying to say. Let's get a bit of that green in there. Let's actually do a little bit of rag rolling as well, just to create some texture. So we'll take a sheet of this and we'll press it in some areas so that we get some nice kind of leafy shapes. Ooh, that's working well. Liking that. Let's get some green up here in this one. Oh dear. And working my way around. Let's go up to the top. Get my security blanket in one hand. And then that colour needs to be continued over, doesn't it? It needs to come over onto this page so that we get a little bit of continuity. You can see where I've done a previous demonstration and the colour has seeped through. I don't worry about things like that. I think it kind of all adds to the immediacy of what a sketchbook is for. Now, I am the first person to admit that I have struggled with using a sketchbook in the past. I find the discipline of it can sometimes be quite limiting. But do you know what? I have so enjoyed using a sketchbook during 30 days that I think actually this way of working is here to stay. Perhaps I just hadn't thought of the right prompts, or perhaps I just hadn't been using it in a way that I found constructive. But I've really enjoyed having this sketchbook and having it all in there. It's kind of like a journal more than anything else, a reminder of what it is that I've been doing. And it's so lovely to flick back through and add to it in the future as well. This will be a nice place to start. If I'm stuck for a project, I'm going to be able to look back through this and remind myself of what I did. So the thing I need to do now is to give this a little bit of a dry. So I'm going to use my glue gun. Just bear with me 30 seconds. I'm going to give it a nice waft. Let's get that colour in. So I've missed saying hello to a few people. Hello Sharon in Australia, lovely to have you with us. Pauline, good morning. Marion is asking, what format is your sketchbook? I assume there's a material list somewhere. Sorry, I just stumbled into this without background knowledge. No, Marion, you are very welcome indeed. My sketchbook is a square one. I'll show you in just a second when this is dry. It's made by Hannah Muller. And it is 100% cotton paper. And as far as the materials are going, if you go back over to the website www.learningtopaint.co.uk, go to the resources tab and find the 30 days blog. You'll actually be able to see the materials that I use as I do it. Good morning, Liz, as well. Joy is saying some forget-me-nots are a pinky lilac shade too. Yes, you're absolutely right, Joy. And Julie is saying, haha, I picked you would choose green appetite. I'm very predictable, aren't I? And good morning, lovely Rosemary, who is up there in Scotland. I know she is. It's lovely to have you all here. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me. So, let's give it a quick extra blast. There we go. That'll do for today. Let's put that down so it doesn't. So yes, this is a square sketchbook. It is, if I remember correctly, yes, 20 centimeters square. So it means I've got 20 by 40 when it's opened out. Or of course, like when I did, where is it? One Day Like This, I've been using it vertically too. So you can choose. One of the reasons that I really wanted a sketchbook like this was I knew that this Hanamulla sketchbook had 30 pages in it, so it's literally a page per challenge, and that way when we get to the end it will be full from start to finish, which was a little bit divisive of me, but quite you understand these things in terms of demonstrating. Right, on the home straight then, let's finish off our forget-me-nots, and we're going to do that with some Posca pens. So Posca pens, just in case you're not aware, they are like an acrylic paint. They are a paint marker, so Posca is the name of them, P-O-S-C-A. They're made by the Uni Pen Company. I use these all the time in my work. If you've ever seen me demonstrate before, you will know that I'm a big fan of these. So we're going to go for two colours. I think we're going to go for two colours. I've got my bag of all my Posca pens down here to my right, just in case I change my mind. So we're going to go, excuse me, for some yellow centres. So I'm going to put those in nice and bright. I have a feeling I'm going to have to do something else to these as I make my way around them, but we'll worry about that in a second. So I'm using the pen just to draw in for nice immediate marks, really. Let's do these over here, and they do have a sort of hole in the centre, which I think I'm going to have to address. Maybe if I'd have thought this project through a little bit further, I could have used a little bit of glue in the centre to get the very middles in, but I didn't, so I haven't. But there's the yellow going in, and then this is a glacier blue. I couldn't read that then. And I'm going to use this glacier blue for adding some kind of extra lines and interesting marks back in and around my petals, kind of adding to the work that the stamp did. So let's hold that up into the camera so that you can see exactly what I've done with that. I've just done some scribbly marks back over the top. I think I am going to have to do something. This is my problem with 30 minutes. I'll be interested to hear from the rest of you. If you've been following my challenge and been doing it, have you found 30 minutes easy, or have you really struggled with that? Let me know, or comment back on one of the blog posts, because I think it always fascinates me how long people take over something. Why is it some people prefer to spend many hours creating something? I don't have the patience, but I have found 30 minutes possibly just a little bit too fast. But I do know that there are people out there who've been going, oh goodness, that's brilliant, 30 minutes. That's all the time that I have in the day, so it's given me the perfect excuse to be creative. So let me know. I'll refresh the comments in a minute so that I can see what it is that you're posting. Let's pop these last few little bits in. Now, do I want to do the last bit in pen, or do I want to do the last bit in paint? Because considerations. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rummage around down in my bag of Posca pens. Oh, I was going to do it in black. I'm not so sure that I want it in black, actually. I think I'm going to do this bit in dark blue. So I'm going to put the kind of the bit in the middle. Let's just make sure that my Posca pen is working. Let's give it a really good shake. And while I do that, I can refresh the feed on Facebook. Now, what are people saying? Oh gosh, lots of comments. Marion is saying, this is so lovely. You make me want to take my watercolours out. Love that green, one of my favourites. Oh, well, then my work is done, Marion. Good morning, Joe, and good morning, Liz, as well. Geraldine really liking it. Now, Marion is saying there's a free online sketchbook revival event annually for the last 4 years, which got me into sketchbooking and actually into mixed media and daily. Yes, daily working in it. Keeps me sane in a crazy time. That's good to hear. Linda is loving the forget-me-nots. Rachel is saying late on parade. Good morning, lovely. Joy is commenting, yes, saying sometimes half a day depending on the topic. And Julie is kind of summing it up by saying 30 minutes fly by when you are enjoying being creative. Julie, I could not agree more. Right, let's put some dark centres into these forget-me-nots, which is, I think, what is going to make all of the difference to making them look three-dimensional. Not that I'm trying to make them look hyper-realistic, because we've kind of left that behind, haven't we? We've used a glue gun, for goodness sake, to create them. I think it's more about kind of pattern and more about texture, sort of like a surface design, really. This would be good stamped onto fabric, wouldn't it? Perhaps I should stamp this into fabric and then give it back to my lovely mum to do something creative with it. That looks so much better, but I know it needs a last few bits and pieces in the background to make some of these shapes stand out a little bit more. So we're going to create some kind of leafy shapes using a little bit more negative painting and some hard edges too. So we'll get some slightly deeper colours going in. We won't do those all over. Let's use a little bit of kitchen roll. Don't like that shape, so use a little bit of kitchen roll. That's better. It wasn't kind of dark enough. Now I don't want to do that all over, and I certainly don't want to overdo it. So I've got to be careful with where that colour gets placed. Bit of blending out going on to soften some of those edges. This is not neat and tidy. This kind of sketchbook work is not meant to be neat and tidy. It's meant to be for exploring ideas, or like Marion is saying, to just kind of being creative and getting a little bit of escapism, all of that kind of thing. I think we all need some of that, don't we? So let's work back into this one. Let's, where do I want that to come? I think I want that to come around the corner. Quite a challenge to paint negatively when you're trying to be fast as well. I have a sneaking suspicion that I am well over the 30-minute thing at the moment, but I don't care because I'm in my happy place and I get to share the morning with you lovely lot, so why wouldn't I want to continue? And then back into here. Let's create that. Let's take that green up to the other. Don't want to overdo this side. Oh, I'm really pleased with this. You don't often hear me say that. Really don't often hear me say that. But I think back to the things that I love in terms of a bit of printmaking, a little bit of watercolour, and quite a lot of mixed media. So what's not to like? Get that colour in. Let's blend that out and around the corner and get it diffused off into a kind of nothing. Do I need more? No, I don't. I was going to make a heavier mark up here, but I actually sort of like the weight of it. So there you have it. Let's give it a bit of a dry so that I can stick my fingers back in it and it doesn't matter. Let's get that back in. Let's see what comments we've got going on. Who's saying what? There we go. So Anne is saying, I've mostly been able to stick to around the 30-minute mark, although the execution of some takes longer. Yeah, Anne, I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Marion is saying, I find several 30 minutes a day perfect, mainly due to my need for coffee or tea and the following trips to the bathroom. Yes, you just have to see it. Do it as you see fit. Marion is also saying she thinks it needs a butterfly. Do you know what, Marion? I don't think you're wrong. Joy is saying that it looks lovely and delicate. Thank you very much indeed. And Sharon is saying that she likes the layering up of the green. Good, I'm glad. And hopefully this has given you some ideas for how you can build up a painting from scratch. So there we have it, day 13 of our Forget-Me-Nots as part of the 30 days hath September challenge. That was too much fun, wasn't it? It was too much fun. Now don't disappear on me because I have some very, very important news. And the important news is that next week the schedule for 30 days is going to have to alter very slightly. Here in the UK, I'm sure you all know the news by now, Monday is a bank holiday for the state funeral of Her Majesty the Queen. And so I'm not going to be doing any social media on Monday, just as a mark of respect. And next week's Technique Tuesday is going to be at the slightly later time. Now, if you're overseas, I know this might mess up the way that you interact with it a little bit. I apologise for that. But next week's Technique Tuesday is going to go out at the slightly later time of 11 a.m. It is on the Facebook page. You will get reminders for it, but just pop that in your diary. Now, next week, I already know what I'm going to be doing because I'm actually going away for the weekend to have a little bit of a break. And next weekend, I'm going to be doing some more printmaking. I'm actually going to be doing some gelatin plate printmaking. And we're going to be talking about junk mail and how you can put your junk mail to good use. So I do hope that you can join me for that. Don't forget, the way that you can see all of the demonstrations to date, the way that you can see everything that I have done so far and everything that I have got coming up is to go back to my website, www.learningtopaint.co.uk, and in the menu you'll find a little tab that says resources. Click or tap on that, and then part of that it says 30 days hath September, and you'll be able to go back through all the blog posts, and they're going to stay there for a long time. So if in the future you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, Ali did a printmaking project and she used a glue gun, but I can't remember what she did with it, you'll be able to go back over and remind yourself of that. So on behalf of Facebook, I apologise for the fact that there are certainly some gremlins and I wasn't able to see everybody's comments. You know I appreciate you tuning in live, and especially from those people who have taken the time and trouble to tune in from all over the world, because I know that your time frames are not the same as ours. So thank you very much for that. Keep being creative. Keep doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or just tune in to all of the broadcasts for your company, because it's really lovely to have you here. So until I see you online or in person, take lots of care of yourselves, lovely people, won't you? And I will see you very soon. Bye.